Hello guys, welcome to i-tutor IAS Academy. In today's section, we will start with the Unit 8 subsection 4 MMPC005, that is decision tree approach. In the earlier section, we have seen single stage decision problem. Quite often the decision maker has to take decision in a sequence. The decisions coming later in the sequence being dependent on those coming earlier. The sequence is either built in or it is possible to engineer such a sequence for a better decision. And for example, consider the periodic production decision for a certain item with uncertain demand. For each period, a decision on the number of units to be produced is to be taken given the uncertainties in damage during different periods. Thus, we will have a number of decisions for each period with the intervening uncertainties in outcome for each decision between any two periods. In such cases, the sequences is built in. In contrast to the above, we find situations where the time frame of decisions are such that before going for the final decision, it is possible to go for a method for generating extra information that will facilitate the final decision. And for example, before deciding on marketing a product nationally, one can decide on test marketing. Similarly, in a production situation where a machine produced an unknown percentage of defectives, one may have an option to buy a special attachment that helps to produce a non-low fraction of defectives. And this each stage we can have two alternatives, buying and not buying and sampling. This can go on till we decide to stop sampling due to some reason. Example, sampling costs become prohibitive. The decision tree approach provides us with a useful way to analyze such a sequential decision problem. We illustrate this approach through an example. The oil drilling example has been a favorite of many authors. Examples here in your IGNOU study material MMPC 005. Okay, so you just go through this example, it will be more clear for you. Okay, and here is one picture also. The sequence show beside each outcome are in the 1,000 rupees. So here is one picture representation also. So you just go through it, and equation based on also here the solutions are there. So this is an example. So based on that, one activity also here, so try to do the activity, it will more clear for you the concept. And preference theory. So far, while deciding on an action, we have used the criterion for maximizing the EMV or expected payoff. This does not take into account the decision maker's attitude towards risk. If a company is financially weak, it may decide not to use the EMV maximizing action if there is even a small chance of going bankrupt following that action. Preference theory helps us in such situation by providing a systematic way of measuring the consequences on a preference scale that reflects the decision maker's attitude towards risk. The objective of this section is to illustrate how preference theory can be used for decision making. The procedure consists of eliciting the information from the decision maker on his certainly equivalence corresponding to each alternative, CE of an alternative being the amount he is ready to exchange for the uncertain consequences of the particular alternative. So here is an example for that. And step 1, step 2, step 3 are there. Example 2 also here from the part, the solution also here. So you just do the example with the solution, it will more clear for you in your understanding. And activity also based on the topic, so you just try to do it. And other approaches. And the foregoing section, we have assumed that the probabilities associated with the outcome are known. In practice, we find situation where it is not possible to make any probability assessment. The EMV and preference criteria fail in such cases. The objective of this concluding section is to discuss some criteria that can be used under such circumstances. Criteria when probability are not known. Criterion pessimism. As the name suggests, the decision making is based on pessimism, the assumption that whatever alternatives is chosen, the worst payoff corresponding to each alternative is actually going to occur. A rational criterion for decision making in such a case is to maximize the minimum payoff. And criterion of optimism, a variant of here over and above the maximum of the minimum payoff. The maximum of the maximum payoff is determined. Choosing would mean complete optimism. It is suggested that the DM find the maximum and minimum payoff for each alternative and weigh them by his coefficient of optimism to arrive at the expected payoff for each alternative. And criterion of regret, the criterion stems from the fact that the regret inbuilt in the decision making as a final decision on an alternative and the actual outcome after the decision has been taken may not match. A regret of 0 occurs when it matches. The regret can be measured as follows. Consider our DM have 2 alternatives investment proposals. The outcome corresponding to each proposal will be a failure or success depending on whether there is an economic depression or not. Okay, so this is the criterion regret. And the subjectivist criterion, the outcome are assumed to be equally probable in this case, and EMB is used for decision. This is known as the subjectivist stand. The above 4 criteria are the best known ones. Selection of the final criterion is purely subjective as the obvious by now, and however each provides us with certain rationale and the DM can choose any depending on his own inclination. And activity also here based on the and summary of this chapter is here. Decision theory provides us with the framework and method for analyzing decision problem under uncertainty. A decision problem under uncertainty is characterized by different alternative course of action and uncertain outcome corresponding to each action. The problem can involve a single stage or a multi-stage decision process. Marginal analysis is helpful in solving single stage problem, whereas the decision tree approach is useful for solving multi-stage problems. And in this unit we have examined how these methods can be applied to solve decision problem. While using these methods, we have used the criterion of maximizing the expected monetary value. Thus, EMB basically assumes that the decision maker is risk neutral, and preference theory help in incorporating the preference of the decision maker in the decision tree framework. We have seen how instead of maximizing the EMB, we can maximize the expected preference and thereby consider the decision maker's attitude towards risk. In the final section of this unit, we have examined certain other criteria that are helpful in taking decision when the probability of occurrence of the outcome are not known. So we already discussed that. Okay. So you just go through unit 8, and in between any doubts you can contact us. And for IGNOU MBA videos, for more IGNOU MBA videos, you just do like and subscribe our channel also. Thank you for your support.
i-tutor Academy presents IGNOU MBA complete syllabus coverage classes for individual students, semester-wise subject with online and flexible timing. For more details, contact on +916 238 21785.